might be recorded on here. We are going to record for second period since they decided not to do anything with the sub. They need to make sure we keep up on AP World History, so we're going to use technology to our benefit. Now, Cassie did us a great service yesterday because, ladies and gentlemen, when we looked at Robert W. Strayer and the way he organizes the information, we learned how are Robert W. Strayer's units or sections organized. Very good, chronologically, by time periods. So the time periods that are up on our bulletin board, right above Tommy and Irvin's heads, are what we are going to use to structure our thinking about the material that we are studying. Does that make sense? Each of those time periods will have a name. Now we'll discuss more. We'll discuss more as we. Just hand it to Cassie Austin. Thank you. We'll discuss more as we go through, and we'll really start to analyze our time periods. But for now, and because we have limited time, I just want to go through exactly what we are looking at here. We start our course in what is called the pre-classical era. The pre-classical era. The pre-classical era goes from about 12,000 BCE or 10,000 BCE to 600 BCE. By the way, BCE stands for Before Common Era, which is a nice way of saying BC. BC used to stand for Before Christ. So when we look at our timeline, the Western civilization, and therefore the world now, kind of, sort of, maybe, judges the time, the number of the years based off of Christ's birth and death, kind of thing like that. Now, BCE is an attempt to try to be more culturally sensitive because not everybody believes in Jesus Christ. And so what they did is they didn't change anything, they just took the Jesus out. And so BCE is equivalent to BC. Does that make sense? Right? And then CE, the Common Era, is the same thing as AD. Again, same idea, you just take Jesus out.
So what do you use for those, like, 20-something years in the middle?
That's just BC.
We just use
I think that's it. That was the marker, but he didn't die on New Year's Eve, so I don't really know. Anyway, and what is New Year's anyway? That's a whole different discussion. So, our first time period is the pre-classical era. Now, each one of our time periods is going to start with some sort of major event, some big deal that happened in history. 12,000 BCE. Help me out here.
farming.
Very good. Agriculture. So our class is really starting in the study of agriculture. Now, what we are going to look at is how agriculture really starts the progression of human history. Now, we know for 250,000 years, humans were hunting and gathering. They were living that paleo life that we talked about yesterday. And we know the agricultural revolution was a major shift in the way people live. In a word, what agriculture creates is civilization. Because what was the title of your chapter 3? First civilizations. And those first civilizations are a direct result of the patterns that we see happening because of agriculture. And another way of saying it is that civilization is an effect of farming. And so all of the things that we consider civilized, everything that we consider civilized comes and dates back to the invention of farming. Does that make sense? So, if for your remembering, and help you remember these time periods, we'll have themes for each of our time periods. Now, the theme of the pre-classical era is, what does it mean to be, civilized? What does it mean to be civilized? So today, that's what our discussion is going to be about. What is civilization? Now, before we go ahead and answer that, what I want to make sure that this class got, that second period didn't get because they were not doing anything with the sub, is another part of your test on Friday. So your test on Friday has multiple choice. It has an essay. Yes, we're going to do the essay tomorrow. Do not worry about it. We'll do it in class. Don't you worry. I'm going to tell you what the prompt is tonight. You're going to know. The third thing that is on there are what's called identifications. Do me a favor. Turn to the last page of chapter 2, right before the green cube set. What is it? What page is that, Mr. Miller? 414. Mr. Miller, what does it say? What's the top part of that say?
Big picture questions.
Good. Does it say second thoughts first? No? Oh, go to 413. There we go. 413. You see where it says second thoughts? 413. 413. What is it? 113. Oh, sorry. We'll get 400 pages.
On chapter 2 or 3?
3.
We said chapter 2.
No, Layman, stop it. Get the board. Now, just kidding. Good. Now, we're on what page? 113? 113. What do we see under second thoughts?
What's the significance?
Very good. These are your important key terms of each chapter. You are expected to know these key terms. So on your exam, I'm going to pick out a certain number of key terms. Does that make sense? I'm going to pick out a certain number of these key terms, and I'm going to ask you to do those 3 things for each of them. Does that make sense? These are called identifications. These are called identifications. So I want to teach you how to do these identifications so that you can start to do them tonight. Cool? Cool beans? Very good. So ladies and gentlemen, Epic of Gilgamesh. Epic of Gilgamesh. What is it? What is it? Hirad.
It's like a poem.
It's like a poem. Very good. What kind of poem is it? It is epic. It's an epic, dude. Sicky Narnar, ride the tube. Epic poem. It's an epic poem. Okay, fair enough. Epic poem. Good. Yeah. From where? Mesopotamia. So it's a Mesopotamian epic poem. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. What did it do? What did it talk about?
Oh, it talks
Go
about
to
city
bed.
life in Europe.
Hold on, Miss Ravenfish, go for it.
Provides Mesopotamian views on the kingship of gods, life, and afterlife.
Very good. Yeah, that is true.
Under significance a little bit.
Oh my god,
What's it a story of?
A warrior named Gilgamesh.
Gilgamesh. And he's not just a warrior. Who is he?
He's half
king.
human, half god.
He is actually 2/3 God, 1/3 human. Don't ask me the math.
I did 3.
Mom's a god. Dad's not. Why is it 2/3? I don't really get it. But I don't think about it too much, right? So he is half man, or excuse me, 2/3 God, 1/3 man. And what is his role in Uruk, in Sumerian society? He is a king.
Oh,
Yeah.
He is the king of Uruk. And what does the story go through? His adventures. It is a story about the adventures of Gilgamesh. And really, it is his adventure searching for the key to eternal life. He wants to live forever. Now, you know the story of Gilgamesh because it's something that your parents probably told you when you were little children. It is certainly a bedtime story I will tell my children. Whenever I have children, I will tell my children this very. What are you looking at me like that for? I will tell my little children this exact story, and I'm sure all of your parents did. Gilgamesh, you know Gilgamesh. He is the king of Uruk. He is the king of Uruk that was a mighty king, one of the mightiest in the world, clearly favored by the gods because of his success in battle and the riches that he did. But there was one problem with Gilgamesh. One issue with Gilgamesh. Every time somebody would get married, he would sleep with their wives first. And people got really upset with this. They're like, hey man, that's my wife. Why are you forcing my wife to sleep with you before I get to sleep with my wife? That's not fair, right? So people complain to the gods. People pray to the gods. Say, gods, can you please? Gilgamesh is wonderful. He is great. But there's this one problem here. He's just kind of getting a little too big for his britches. And so the gods heard those prayers and said, fine, we will send somebody to deal with Gilgamesh. And so they send the anti-Gilgamesh. Everything that Gilgamesh wasn't. They sent down this one individual named Enkidu, a wild man, a man that lived like the beast. He crawled around on all fours. He didn't shave. He ate. He drank from the same same watering hole as the animals. He hunted by himself. He was a wild beast of a man. Now Enkidu, rumors of Enkidu and his strength and his thing reached Gilgamesh, and Gilgamesh realized, this is a challenge. I have to face this challenge. So he does what any normal king would do. He talked to the prostitute. And he told the prostitute, please lure Enkidu into the city. Now, I'm not going to tell you exactly how she did it, but she does lure Enkidu into the city walls, and it is this prostitute that is responsible for civilizing young Enkidu. She civilizes him. But of course, because you guys all know what Mesopotamian civilization means, right? It can be broken down into a few things. Eating bread. You eat bread. That's what you do. You eat bread. You drink beer. The beer, that's one of those things. You bathe. You're clothed. You live in a city. And you sleep with prostitutes. So that is Mesopotamian civilization. See, Andrea's like, whoa, that's quite the civilization that they had in Mesopotamia. So Mesopotamian Enkidu becomes civilized, and there's this great battle after he shaves and he's bathed, and he finally sees Gilgamesh, and the two get into a huge wrestling match, and literally Iron Man versus Captain America kind of battle, where they're literally fighting each other and buildings are breaking and things are going crazy. They're having this epic battle together, and as they do, they realize that they're actually just best friends. They realize that they just really like each other. They beat the pulp out of each other and they become best buds. And then it becomes Enkidu and Gilgamesh versus the gods. And the gods throw all of these beasts at Enkidu and Gilgamesh, and together, as best bros, they defeat all of these beasts until eventually they go on a wonderful adventure together, searching for eternal life. Now, Enkidu winds up dying in Gilgamesh's arms. Oh, so sad. And Gilgamesh gets the secret to eternal life, and then he loses it. Thus ends the story of Gilgamesh. He dies.
How do you lose the secret to immortality?
He dropped it.
It
was like an accident thing. I forget what it was exactly, but it was like a thing, and he drops it, and I don't remember why. It was literally like a whoopsie daisy sort of a thing. But it's a great story. It's actually really great. I listened to it on an audiobook a few summers ago. It was really fun. Huh? I did actually cry. It was a wonderful story. Which is again, now you all know that story because I'm sure your parents wanted to teach you what civilization meant. So they used the Mesopotamian story: prostitutes, bread, beer, bathing, clothing, and living in a city. Right? Those are just what it means to be civilized. Anyway, so that is what it is and what it did. If you did those two things on the exam, you would get half credit for the identification. It's the why is it significant that we're going to focus on in just a bit. Before we do, let's do the same thing for the Hyksos. What are the Hyksos? What are they, Kathy? You had it. They are a pastoral group from, they're Indo-European. They're an Indo-European pastoral group. What's the meaning of pastoral again?
They have animals.
Yeah, they domesticate animals, they use livestock, and what else do they have, which is a carryover from hunter-gatherer society? They are nomadic. So they don't just stay in one place, they travel around. Does that make sense?
Shepherds.
Kind of like shepherds, exactly. But they use, and we're going to talk about pastoral peoples a lot more when we start getting towards the Mongols and Arabs, and once we get there, but we're not there yet. So good. So they're a pastoral group. What do they do? Andrew.
They conquered Egypt and ruled it for 1650 to 1535 BCE.
That's impressive. Did you get all that, Mr. Lennon?
What?
It was not. It was a lot. So they conquered Egypt. Now, don't worry about the dates. That's fine. Because in this class, we're not going to go on to like the early, middle, and later kingdoms. So early, middle, and later kingdoms. We're not going to get into Egypt that specifically. I appreciate that. Yeah. What do they conquer Egypt with? Chariots. So they use chariots to conquer Egypt. Now, we're not at the why is it significant, but just right off the bat, why is that significant?
They conquered
Because
Egypt.
it's a great tradition.
Because it used to be really hard to get into Egypt.
Again, number one, it's hard to get into Egypt. Number two, Egypt is a pretty old civilization. I mean, Egypt is one of the first, one of the most prosperous civilizations in all of history. One of the longest running. Do you understand that Cleopatra, you know Cleopatra, right? You don't want to fall in love with her because you want to get into a war with one of your friends, right? And then like snakes are involved. Anyway, but Cleopatra, you know that she lived closer to the opening of Pizza Hut than she did to ancient Egypt that we're talking about now? That's how long Egypt has been around. No, I'm saying timeline-wise, Rod. But I'm sure they had some sort of form of Pizza Hut at that point. It would have been like Cat Hut or something. I don't know. They didn't eat cats. They love cats. I don't know why. But anyway, so it's a pretty big deal for this pastoral group to conquer Egypt, such a flourishing civilization. Does that make sense? Now again, who is it? What did it do? You got it. That'd be 2 out of 4 points. Mr. Lehman, I'm going to transition us into our next discussion. Can you do me a favor? Can you take that Lysol spray bottle? Can you erase where it says stratified social hierarchies in that wonderful drawing of my morning routine? Can you erase all that, spray the bottle, and use the rag? And then you can erase hello, Mr. Oftedal, as well. And then I'd like you to write EPECS. I'd like you to write EPEX on the board. Oh. Does that make sense? It's impressive. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you answer the significance, you want to think about why. Again, the title of this book is supposed to read a brief history of the world. A brief history, and I know some of you reading the chapter was like, "That's brief. Good Lord, it never ended." Right? So, yeah, and you're like, I loved it when I got to that math page and both of the pages were taken up. I was like, oh, praise the Lord or Buddha or whatever. Anyway, a brief history. But Robert W. Strayer has made a very intentional decision to say, if you read my chapter, it's already brief. But if you've got nothing else, you should know what these things are. Does that make sense? So you got to think, why did he include this? Why does he think this is important? And when you think that, you want to think, what does this say about our time period? What evidence is this for the themes, the ways of the world for the pre-classical era? Now we know the pre-classical era's theme is, what does it mean to be civilized? We know that that's the theme. So what we want to think about is right now, what does it mean to be civilized? What is civilization? What does that even mean? So let's go through it. EPEX. You have your chapter 3 EPEX out because it's exactly what you read. Mr. Brown, would you like to come in and join the conversation? You remember these wonderful days.
Yes, sir, I do.
This is Josh's favorite classes.
My favorite class, by far.
And you didn't like it at the very beginning.
No, I hated it, yeah.
Now, I wish Miss Feedback was here to hear that.
It doesn't get any better, I promise you.
Josh, it gets a little.
It gets better next year when you take input.
It gets better next year when you take input. Yeah, see? There you go. Did I do something wrong?
U.S. history.
It is what I do for a living, and specifically the class I also do that for a living. Okay. Now, you'll figure it out. So, good. Now, Mr. Lehman, EPEX, I should have told you this, going down. Like, we're going to make a, what is that, a cross-stick home or whatever? So we're not going to write it as a haiku. So, let's start with politically. Because environmentally, we'll get there. I'm going to sit. This is more fun to sit at the desk.
Yes, it's sarcastic.
That didn't sound sarcastic in the slightest. I'm great. So, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, politically, what do we notice about our first civs? What do we notice in general? What was the trend? Look at your EPEX summaries. What did you get? All right, good, but let's get in general now. Not yet, politically. I want politically.
Kings were...
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, you had, Abigail, are you ready? Abigail, are you ready?
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we noticed that most places had how many rulers? One. One ruler king, pharaoh, son of heaven, right? So emperor, you have different names, but in general, you have a single person, Mr. Brumont is correct, a male that is ruling. Why do they get power? What is it that gives them power? Really? Oh, interesting. So you're telling me that kings or emperors or pharaohs, the reason they had power was because they were divinely ordained. God said, "That's my boy."
Well, it is in quotes, really.
It is in quote. So that very good, very. So you're telling me that politically, those in power in our first civilizations, in a civilized society, is a ready, Abigail? Single, all-powerful, divinely ordained ruler. A single, all-powerful, divinely ordained ruler. By the way, we're going through your e-text summary right now. Something you didn't include, you might want to include it.
Could I write Sapdor?
You may write Sapdor because now they know what that is. Despite the fact that when you say Sapdor, you have to write it out in any of your essays. So single, all-powerful, divinely ordained ruler. Great. What justifies their power? God said so. That's my boy. Yes. She is. Is she in trouble? Can we make it public if she is? No. Okay, do you need her? Yeah. What do you need her for? Specifically. Oh, Madam Secretary. Good. How do they keep power? What do you? Whoa! What do you mean by coercion? Very good, Abigail. Coercion. Now they use force. How? What do you mean by? Oh, first things first. What, McKenna? Laws. Laws. What about those laws? Yeah, but how do people know what the law is? Ah, whoa! So they have written laws, Abigail. Codified laws. Codified laws. When you see the word codified or codified, whatever, right? Codified. When you see that, that means it is written down. So they have codified laws. Yes. Now, when one breaks the law, how do they maintain order?
Consequences.
Very good. Who does that consequences?
Anyone.
The ruler himself? The single all-powerful ruler is going to get his fingernails dirty by executing people. Whoa, his what? What's a bureaucrat? Yes, usually. A what? What is? I don't understand what a bureaucrat. What does that mean?
A bureaucracy is a pyramid of government officials.
Oh. Abigail. Bureaucracy. Ladies and gentlemen, bureaucracy. Because we have a single, all-powerful, divinely ordained ruler. One person to control everything. They are the ones making the laws. They're the ones judging the laws. They're the ones enforcing the laws. That is what a single, all-powerful ruler can do. But what happens when the single, all-powerful ruler is no longer around? What happens in that fact when the single, all-powerful ruler is nowhere near?
We shut the door.
How does that single, all-powerful ruler How do they do it?
They come back. Yes, loyal helpers.
Very good. Because a single all-powerful ruler cannot do everything that needs to happen to organize a society. So they have lower-level officials that are called bureaucrats. So a bureaucracy is important. I am a bureaucrat. I'm a teacher that does the government's bidding. Because Trump is doing whatever he's doing in the White House and doesn't have time to come and teach you AP World History. While I think that might be an interesting class. It might be. So don't worry about that yet. I'm just saying it'd be an interesting class. And if Donald Trump come here every day from Washington, D.C. So good. We've got bureaucracy. Now, what else do you have in order to enforce laws?
Are we switching?
No, we're still on beat. No cops yet. They don't get invented till the 19th century.
Armies.
Very good.
But they were-
Professional, Abigail, standing armies.
Like the mafia.
And instead of saying professional, say large standing armies. No, mafia not yet.
Dang it.
I know. There will be mercenary forces, but they will have their own armies as well. There will be mercenaries, but we're not going to get into mercenary warfare when you take
But were these armies like conscriptionary, like it's just like, or they
Yes.
or they like found people who were good at fighting?
Well, you have people who are professional military people, and then you also have people who are going to be conscripted. They'll be slave armies. Good. We got large standing army, Mr. Lehman?
Yeah.
Large standing army? Good. No, I'm just seeing what we have.
Why are you writing it sideways? I don't know.
No, that's great. You're doing a good job. You're doing a good job.
Like in the P.
Good. Anything else for politically you want to add?
Oh wait, I got it.
We can put it somewhere else. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in a second. Yes.
It's also a big thing of like the elites and like class by birth.
We're gonna get to that in a second. We're gonna get to that in a second. I don't want to waste time now. Yeah, that's what we're gonna talk about. Let's go economically. What do we notice in our first civilizations economically? What do we see? What do we notice?
They gathered more material.
We see them gathering a surplus. Now, I love this. I love this. What a great way of moving this forward. You see a surplus of what?
Food.
Resources. Now let's go and just say food to make it easier. Now that they have a surplus of food, what else do these places now do?
That rhymes.
We're not there yet. That's environmental.
Surplus of people.
Economically.
Trade.
How do we get exchanges and trades from a surplus? I don't get it.
Specialization.
Very good. Abigail?
Yes.
Surplus of food. Not you, Abigail. Mr. Lehman, surplus of food. Can you make sure farming is in there? Right? So farming is the basis of their economy. But with a surplus, we do see the development of the specialization of the economy. So specialization. Now, what does specialization mean? Specialization. What I want you to write. Go ahead, Colin.
It's specialization is you have people who are doing other tasks than just growing their own food for themselves and doing special things that you would need, for example, like more training or more education than just, than just this is how you farm. So they do things like arts or they make textiles or masonry, and that's the only thing they do.
Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, when you live in a subsistence level, right, you're making only what you need. But I want you to understand that that means you're not only growing your own food, you're making your own clothing, you're making your own house, you're making your own bed, like not like putting the sheets and the blankets up, like you actually have to build your own bed, right? You have to, any sort of tool or anything you want, you have to make it. But when you have a surplus of food, and it's no longer necessary for everybody to farm, you can now do a specific job. And maybe I'll grow the grains, I'll grow the wheat, I'll grow the rye, I'll grow the barley, but I got a lot of wheat and barley to grow. I'm going to let Zoe be the builder. I'm going to let Zoe focus on building my home. And I'll pay her either with money or I'll pay her with food. Does that make sense? Zoe's not going to waste her time farming. You might be farming, right? You maybe you like farming. I don't know if you like farming, but she might have a garden or something. But she's going to focus on building. That's what specialization means. Does that make sense? So that means that you have a variety of different occupations that are available to people. In addition, what that starts to set up is trade. Now, who's trading with whom? Like everybody. Well, that's not false. We got to be a little bit more specific than like everybody. Mr. Miller. Very good. Now, Egypt and Mesopotamia, are they the same place?
No.
So, Mr. Lehman, are you ready? And Abigail, are you ready? Inter-regional trade. Inter-regional trade. Inter-I-N-T-E-R. Very now, go for it, Colin. Very good. Colin's also going to say that when Zoe and I are trading, when she builds my house and I give her food or money or whatever, and we see trading within a place, that's called intra-regional trade. Intra-regional trade. I am laying down the academic vocabulary thick today. Look at all these new words you're going to use at dinner tonight. Yeah, Mom, I'd like to engage in some intra-regional trade, please. Don't give me that look, Zoe. Why did I come back? Misty C. Okay, so you have intra-regional trade, you have specialization. Good. By the way, the single all-powerful, divinely ordained ruler, the Sapdor. What's he doing for work? How does he make a living?
He's just chilling.
He is chilling, bro. Yeah. Say it again. Taxes. You also see systems of taxation.
No taxation without representation.
Yeah, that idea doesn't come out for a very long time. We got thousands of years before anybody's like, man, taxes, we should like have a say in that. Mostly people just say, great, who do I gotta pay taxes to now? Please, king, don't have your armies rape and pillage my village. Usually it happened anyway. Usually your life just sucked. And then you died. And then hopefully there was an afterlife that gave you some sort of hope. So he's like, what were these class? Anyway, good. I think that's good for economics. Culturally, what does it mean to be civilized? Yeah, let's go into so I don't elaborate. You're right, but Hannah, help me out here. These elaborate burials. Elaborate burials. These funerals. What do we know about them? Because they were almost kind of like random.
They were all different according to class.
Whoa. You're telling me that there was some sort of ritual behind it?
Yes.
Where do the rituals come from?
Religion.
What? Ladies and gentlemen, major development is the organization of religion. Religions are going to become organized and formalized. These rituals are going to start to take on more precedence within these societies. You're going to see kind of the agreement in a larger place over, yes, these are the gods, or this is the god. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
This belief in gods and goddesses. Great. So religion gets organized. And what is so help me out here. And we're gonna mesh a little bit of politics and culture here. What's the relationship between rulers and religion? The rulers often are either considered gods, like Pharaoh, and like Gilgamesh, or 2/3, don't do that. Right? Or they are at least ordained by the gods, and usually religion is going to support. So you see, religion will, are you ready? Justify political authority. Religion will justify political authority. Does that make sense? Justify means to give a reason for, provide a defense of. That's what justification is. Yeah? Good. What else do we know? Actually, let's take that a step further. How else does religion help to justify authority? What's an outward expression of that justification? What do you mean by that? Isn't that the greatest? Gosh, I wish I was an Olmec leader. Gosh, that's so legendary. If I was an Olmec leader, you would all be worshiping me as a divine ruler, and you'd make a giant head in my image. You, not my body. Just my head.
Not even a bust.
Just my head. Not even the bust. Not even like my shoulders, but But not even just my shoulders. Just my giant dome. And you just stick it in the middle of the quad. That would be legendary status right there. The guy who used to teach him here was Mr. Burroughs. Oh my gosh, legend. The man was a legend. His podium, by the way. That's why he's the one who sang The Empire Needs You. Right? Legendary. So legendary that they made giant blow-up pictures of his face as he was yelling at his classes. Giant blow-up picture, this big. Put him on sticks. And then during free throws and basketball games, they would hold up his head and shake it at the person doing the free throws. Right? Or the other way around. Don't make it. Legendary. Hi, Isaiah. It's great to see you. Right? Legendary status here. Giant Olmec heads. Wait, what else were built?
Pyramids.
Oh, pyramids were built. What about Mesopotamia?
Ziggurats.
Ziggurats. What were built in Mesoamerica alongside those giant Olmec heads?
Temples.
Yeah, the pyramid of the sun, or whatever it is, the feathered serpent, right? Right. So, or something like that. Yeah, Quetzalcoatl. I love Quetzalcoatl. I love that. It's a wonderful name. I call it Quetzalcoatl. Good. Wait, so you're telling me that these large things? Wait a minute. What do you notice about all those things? Very good. They are large. And what shape are they all? Irvin, answer me this. You're telling me that separately and independently, people from across the world were all building giant structures in all the same shapes?
Yeah.
Why?
To represent the
No, Irvin! It is not the Illuminati!
How do you know?
I get it. Right? Because I know these things. Wait. What else? What do you think they're trying to build?
Stuff to get into your God.
Something
Trying to get
to
highest.
the sky.
They're
trying to go to eternal life. I mean, they're trying to go to
having
the
something
sun.
above.
Touch the sun.
They're climbing to the sun.
Having something that's above the civilization.
Trying to get them to the spirit world.
They would have made it a circle if it was the sun.
They're trying to
Well, we can staircase
They're
up.
trying to make a entrance to
What?
a stairway to heaven.
Yeah, absolutely. They're trying to make mountains. That's actually a theory. So a theory is that the reason why you have pyramids in these large buildings is because kings were trying to say, I'm a god, or I am godlike. Look at me and the power that I have. I command the resources of this area. I build mountains. Because I'm a god. Exactly. They're flexing on their people by making the slaves build these massive mountains.
Weird flex, bro.
Anyway, but you see that. Now, what that is called, now this can go under either cultural or environmental, the building of monumental architecture. The building of monumental architecture. Got it? Yeah, I got a question for you. These civilizations, yeah? Egypt, Mesopotamia, which starts out as the Sumerians. Oh, forgot that politically. We're gonna get back to that. Let's do that. Let's actually, we have to do that right now. We do that right now. Sorry, politically. Stupid me. Bad off it all. Bad. How are these places organized? Politically. City-states. Very good. When you have city-states, right? Ur, Sumer, Akkad. What then happens to these city-states? What do they do? Abigail, city-state. Justin, no, I'm sorry, not Justin. No, Evan, I'm sorry. No. Evan, city-state, politically. What happens to these city-states? Quickly. Disagree. They what? Very good. They coerce, but they start to fight. Don't pack up yet.
City-states.
These city-states expand.
City-states.
What do? When they expand, what do they create? And they build mini, and I'm using the word mini on purpose, empires. So you see the expansion of city-states into larger empires. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Good. Now, question, empires. Here we're going to fill out. We're going to incorporate more people into this political structure. Holy cow. Ooh, it's okay, this transition actually works. Oh, man, I'm a bad teacher today. Who stays in control over this massive territory?
A governor.
The ruler.
Still the single ruler. Where do they rule from? The center. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have a single all-powerful, divinely ordained ruler that maintains, Abigail, centralized authority. Centralized authority. So then my question then goes even further. By the way, centralized authority. Centralized authority means having power over a large territory from one central location. Decentralized is if there's a lot of different places that have individual rulers and there's not one central person. Yes. States' rights versus federal rights. We're not going to get into that. Now, culturally, how does that work? How do you get your rules and your religion spread out to different places? What do you have to have developed? What? So you have the development of written language. How does language come about, by the way?
The Olmecs. The last civilization.
Olmec. How?
They needed something to keep track of labor and.
Very good.
Record.
It's accounting. It's record keeping. It's exactly it. Exactly it. Cultural. It's cultural. All right.
Evan Lemon.
Turn in your notes. Go ahead and you can put it on your way out. I'll show you where I want you to put it. Let's turn in all notes forever and always. There will be this bit here without some Caesar napkins that I'd like you to turn them into. So go ahead and do so.
See you, Mr. Coffee.
Are we just studying?
Wait a minute.
Did that none of that record?
How did that not record?
Because they have to record it tomorrow.
So here's what I would do. All of tonight, I would make sure for all of those IDs, you know who it is and what it did. Thank you, Mr. Sidebottom. Katie, where'd you go? Did you see why I said to wait?
I need to print out one more thing because I typed all my notes up. Can I go do that?
Great. Have fun. Oh wait, no, it's still recording.